Today we are in Johnstown, Ontario at the facilities of Giant Tiger to discuss their private fleet operations. James, attracting and retaining drivers in today's labor market is very challenging. Latest information from Trucking HR Canada show we have 28,000 vacancies as of the end of June. 50% of those vacancies have been vacant for over 90 days, proving that it is a long-term labor issue. What does Giant Tiger do to not only recruit drivers to their fleet, but ensure they can retain these drivers for the long haul and avoid the turnover rates?
No, that's a great question, Mike. There certainly are more people exiting the industry from a driving perspective than there are entering the industry. And we're very cognizant of that. And that's why we try to structure the workload that we have around a proper work-life balance. We are highly service-oriented with our service to our stores. And what that allows us to do is to create a very balanced schedule for our drivers that has predictability. And they're able to know when they're going to be home for family obligations, when they're going to be home for the plumber that's coming to fix their sink, for lack of a better example. In private fleets and perhaps broadly speaking in trucking, the schedule, as you know, is get up, go, where am I going? I don't really know where I'm going, and you'll be back at the end of the week. We give drivers something that they can plan their life around. And it really, if we back that up, it really starts at the selection process, and we're making sure that we're matching applicants that come through our doors to the correct opportunities internally that will match their work-life balance and keep them happy long-term with the organization. We have arguably the best retention rate in North America for drivers. And what makes that possible is not only our scheduling, but our compensation package, which is a fair hourly rate, and we compensate drivers for all the work they do. We're not penalizing them for waiting at shippers. We're not penalizing them for being stuck in traffic. We pay weekend premiums. We pay drivers to work a premium when they sleep in the truck. We're asking them to be away from their family sometimes 5 nights per week. There's a bit of a grind to it, right? And it's really important that we recognize that and we put the proper systems in place, both from a compensation and technology perspective, to make that drive for them very comfortable.
So you talked about the hourly pay, you talked about the turnover. What is the average turnover rate of your fleet? Do you have those numbers?
We do. We're less than 2% per year of turnover.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes, absolutely.
So we do our own benchmarking survey, as you know, in the private fleet to kind of compare private fleets to for hire fleets. A long haul for hire fleet, their average turnover is over 90%. The average turnover in a private fleet is around 12%, but to be at 2%, that's basically zero. So that definitely helps a lot with your driver shortage when you're not having to constantly replace people who have came here, decided they didn't like it, and leave. So to keep it at 98% is amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. That really goes back to how we match work against the needs of the drivers that are coming in. We are a people-first organization. We go the extra mile to make sure that our folks are taken care of. And I think there's a bit of a personal aspect with the repeat nature of our scheduling and our workload. The drivers see the same folks, whether it's store managers or store associates, on a daily, weekly basis. They build those interpersonal relationships that they perhaps might not have as a long-haul driver going cross-border, where they're seeing a different face every other day. There are so many other aspects of things we provide, from our benefits, our bonus programs, our deferred profit sharing plans, and other financial and non-financial aspects that make it a really sticky relationship we have with our folks. And we have grown around 700% in the last 3.5 years. But we have a core group of drivers, some of which have been with us for over 34 years. That it's a great example for anyone new coming through the door to get mentored and learn from those drivers. And all the reasons that made them stick around as long as they have are still valid today.
Yeah, well, and I think it shows the pride that they obviously have in the fleet, how happy they are working here if they're willing to stay here that long. And the less turnover you have too also has a factor on safety, because if they get to know the organization and what they're doing, they're going to be a safer operator.
Absolutely right. We have a driver manual that was put together by one of our most senior individuals within the fleet. It has notes for just about every location we go to, and that knowledge, that 34 plus years of knowledge, is downloaded to every driver that comes through the door. And they're supportive. They're not going to get laughed at because they have to call and say, hey, I can't find this location, or they're not going to get belittled because they're late to a delivery. Safety first. There's nothing that's worth putting yourself or the public at risk for on that truck. And if you have to take a bit of extra time to do it, we would encourage that. We'd rather have that call than the opposite, where there's some tragedy that's happened because you're cutting corners. And that's something that I think a lot of drivers appreciate. They're used to coming out of an environment where they're being pushed to the limit. A lot of corners are cut, and here we don't do that. And it really shows both in our retention rates and as well as our ability to attract drivers in a market that is, to your point earlier, starving for drivers.
Well, James, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thanks, Mike.